welcome back to the Even If podcast. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Kenzie. And today's episode is, even if there's a chapter in your life you wish you could have skipped, he is still good.
All right. Well, we're both in red, white, and blue, which is hilarious because it's a little like post-election vibes in here.
It is a little post-election vibes in here.
And we are happy.
We are happy.
Things are good and God is good.
God is good, baby.
All right. So how's your week been?
We're moving on. My week was so good. It was so good. I just got home
back from LA.
I was in New York. I went to Kelsey Ballerini, Madison Square Garden with my bestie. It was so much fun. And then I flew to LA from New York to, I'm going to sound so silly, but I puppy sat my brother's brand new puppy.
That's the
He's had her
thing.
for like a week and a half. And I was like, dude, we're just crazy dog people. And also like, he's only had her for a week and a half. And I was like, I actually could really use some time away just to like spend it with the Lord and kind of just be alone, and was kind of nervous to be alone for a little while with a puppy in LA. And it was exactly what I needed. It was so good for my heart. It was so good.
I love seeing your photos. That puppy is so stinking cute.
It's the cutest puppy I've ever seen in my entire life.
So
and I'm an
sweet.
aunt. Like,
I know,
it's so,
aunt life is the best.
I'm an aunt. I'm like, this is ridiculous, but it is true. Like, I feel like dogs are really just so healing, the unconditional love that you get from a dog. But also it's really made me aware of the kind of aunt I'm going to be when my brother has kids.
Oh my
and
gosh,
how
you'll be the
obsessed
best.
I'm going to be with those
100%.
kids. Like, I don't know how you do. I genuinely don't know how you do it.
Yeah. I remember after my brother had my first niece, I called my aunt and was like, I don't know that I can ever love something more than this. Like, and then more children came and my heart just keeps growing and growing and growing.
And then when your babies come, it's going to be like,
I know, I can't imagine.
Holy cow. Yeah.
I know, I can't wait.
It was, gosh, I miss her. I actually like am missing this dog. And I think it also just made me so aware of how excited I am to be a mom one day, and like how nurturing that part of my life will be, and just how exciting it will be. So it made me excited.
Such an amazing mom.
Oh, thank you. Honestly, I think I will really be a great mom. I just am excited. And also I feel like I'm in this stage of life that people always say, like, when you get into your 30s, like your ovaries start screaming. I've never really had that, but it's that nurturing, being able to take care of something, and the joy that you have and that you get from just taking care of something is the best feeling in the entire world. So it made me be like, oh my gosh, if this is how I look at this puppy. I had a moment where tears came out of my eyes, and I was like, the Lord looks at me and goes, I remember that honestly, this is a tiny little story about with the puppy. One morning I was journaling and just like looking, and she was laying next to me, sleeping like completely on her back, just so at ease and so safe and so at peace with me. And I have a ongoing relationship with my dad, but it's been pretty difficult my whole life. And so, it's kind of bled into just my relationship spiritually with the Lord over my entire life. But I'm in a place now where I'm just looking at this puppy and I'm going, oh my gosh, like this is how my Heavenly Father sees me. Like it was a moment, it brought tears to my eyes. And I was like, he said to me, he's like, this is how I see, like, you love this puppy this much. Like, you have no idea how much I love you, and just broke me. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is just,
I got a taste of
just a sliver,
that's amazing.
in a new way. So being an aunt to a puppy, it's the best. How was your week? Tell me about
Well, it's been crazy. It's been so fun. The book release.
So proud of you.
You know, last week was so fun being able to share about Cowgirl Mermaid and
so
embracing
cool.
the paradox. But it's been really cool being able to just preparing for what a book release looks like. This is my first book, and
it's so cool.
Already excites me to write another.
Yeah,
but
dang, girl.
I've learned so much, and it is funny. I think, especially the week before the book release, it's like, or even a couple of weeks, I think I've had all these fears of, oh my gosh, I should have done this differently. Why didn't I do this? I could have done this. And I feel like I have had all these things, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I should push out the release date. But I feel like that's the enemy. And I felt that way before starting this podcast too, of just the fear before doing something new. Big. And also being okay with, this could be version 1 of the book, and there could be 100%. Another version. You know, it's paperback right now, but if I want to do a hardcover, like that might happen in a couple months.
Yeah,
and
totally.
Just being okay with what I've created and what the Lord has given me to share. And so anyways, all really exciting, super fun.
Love that. Also, not that this is sloppy, but I remember one of my bosses told me, he said a sloppy something is better than a perfect nothing.
Yes.
And I just feel like it's just, you're pulling this massive Band-Aid off and doing this really scary thing that in your eyes is always going to have room for improvement versus it's perfect as it is. And you'll learn as you go.
Oh,
and this will not be the first and last book that you write. So,
well, speaking of things not being perfect. That's a good transition because our episode for today, I think, is something that you and I are really excited to talk about and also very scared.
Yes.
And our episode for today is, the question came from a few weeks ago. You and I were playing this fun question game and I drew a card and the card said, in your biography, what question would you ask your parents to skip? And I think we just like laughed about it and skipped over it. And I was like, and you were like, da, da, da.
Yeah.
And we moved on to something else.
Yeah.
I think it's because obviously that chapter we would skip is a heavy question and is more than just that quick fun game. But funny enough, I had several people come up to me and be like, that would have been a great question to share.
Ooh, yeah.
And that's when I texted you and was like, I think we should do a whole episode on this.
Yeah.
So I feel like when I drew that card, my impulsive answer was going to be, well, my emotionally, verbally, sexually, and physically abusive relationship. But that was very heavy. So today we're actually going to go there and we're both going to get a little bit heavy.
Yes. Whew, take a big deep breath. We're going to get really vulnerable. And we both, when Sarah texted me and said that, my immediate answer was, yes, I love this. I love everything about the title. And I know exactly what I want to talk about. I knew what you were going to want to talk about. And we've been very prayerful and really intentional about kind of navigating how we were going to talk about this, both of us. And also just very much share this part of our story is obviously in our past. And we see God's glory and redemption in our lives through this. And our prayer is that we're honest so we can show people like, hey, this is what we went through. And look how good God is to restore and have it become a chapter that also made us who we are now. So we are going to go really deep. It's heavy. It's also really beautiful. We're going to do our best to honor our past and honor the people involved. So, leaving out details that don't need to be brought up, but also being able to delicately talk about certain details so that people can understand what we went through. So what is a chapter that you wanted to skip?
It's funny that it's called the chapter that you'd want to skip because it's true. Our lives are this book, right? And it's this book that is still being written for both of us. But when I think about that chapter, it feels like a whole other book to me.
Yeah.
I can't believe sometimes I'm like, wow, it feels like a whole other person. It doesn't even feel like me sometimes when I think about it like that.
No,
I'm like, that was me. That happened. But then also remembering who I was at the time, what I was going through. It just is hard to even comprehend that that's my story.
Yeah.
Because I feel so removed from it. And that again is the punchline of the redemption of God's goodness and grace. But to go deeper, I mean, the chapter I'd want to skip is I was in a really bad, abusive, manipulative relationship when I was younger. And when I think about it, it really does feel like, again, it feels like a whole nother story, a whole different girl looking back at it. But I think it's taken me years to fully understand and process what happened in it.
What do you want to share with our listeners that did happen in it?
Well, as I've gotten older, I was able to process more. I would have just said it was a bad relationship. It was toxic. It was manipulative, and maybe would have thrown out the word abusive. Maybe would have said he was a narcissist, kind of, these words that I'm not really sure. But I think the older I've gotten and through my coaching that I've gone to and my own personal coaching certifications and things, realizing more that it was physically abusive. It was sexually abusive. There was boundaries that he crossed. There were things that I had said no to that he didn't respect. There were things I was uncomfortable with. And then I think the verbally and emotionally abusive, I started to believe things that weren't true. But I remember there would be times and I would think, I am so crazy. I am crazy. I can't believe I would do that because of the way that I would believe things that he would say. And so I think it really messed with me emotionally. I wasn't able to see the bad in it. It felt like a relationship that maybe had some issues or things to work on. And when I would talk to friends about it, to them, I think any of them would sit here and say it was obviously a very bad relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But being in it, for whatever reason that is, it's just harder to see it for yourself.
Totally. It feels like you're in a big body of water. You don't know which way is up or down.
Right. Yeah.
It's foggy. You
Yeah,
can't.
that's exactly it. I mean, I would think I'm swimming one way, and I had friends call me out and be like, hey, I saw this happen. What was that about? I'm like, oh, he didn't mean it. Or he thought it, he was trying to explain something to me.
Yeah.
And I look back and I'm like, what?
Yeah. Dude,
like, it just feels like I'm actually having this, like, I don't know. I just, like, my body just feels like angry when I think about it. I do feel that I'm healed from it. And I think this is something I told you before we recorded I was talking to my dad about it, and he was like, just make sure you're not sharing anything that you don't feel like you've healed from. I do feel like I'm healed from it, but I just think you can't help but have this anger for injustice.
Absolutely.
When you think about things.
Absolutely. Especially when you're sitting here and you're saying, like, I believed what he said. Like, I believe, and I can understand that. And I know that there are countless women that will hear that and go, no, I get it. He made me feel crazy. And I think that's a big driver for us talking about this kind of stuff, is because it happens more often than women talk about. Yeah. And we find ourselves in relationships like the one that you found yourself in, and we justify. Because if it was all 100% terrible, we'd walk away. But if it's even 2% good, we find a way to justify, because that's how manipulative they are, and gaslighting, how that can take over and just make us not know in that body of water which way is up and which way is down. And it can happen to the smartest. It does happen to the smartest, most beautiful, like, it happens to the very best of us. And so that's why I love that we're talking about this, even though this is really heavy and it does bring up that anger, because if it didn't, can you imagine your daughter walking through something like that?
Well, funny enough, I was at this high school today, and I saw a girl who I know is in and out of an abusive relationship. And I see her, and she shared a little bit of her story with me. And then I've heard through other girls and just through the grapevine at school about this relationship. And I just feel so angry, because I want to shake her and be like, it's so hard to see. Like, I know, like, I think she's a beautiful girl. And when we're in those relationships, you just don't even know. You can't see. And it's really, really hard. Yeah. And I think I had friends tell me, I had parents tell me, I had family, brothers tell me, but I couldn't see it. And I believed the best in him, because he told me that. I believed the best in him, because
of course
he said it wasn't true. He said he didn't mean to. He said it was an accident. He said it won't happen again. Yeah. He said all these things that I believed. Yeah. And so I see girls, and when they're going through that, it's so hard. Like you said, what if your daughter went through it? I'm like, I see these high school girls I work with go through that.
Yeah. But you also know what it's like, because you were in their shoes, and you know exactly what it feels like. I had one of my best friends look at me across the table at dinner, tears in her eyes, and looks at me and goes, I'm scared for your physical safety.
Oh, yeah.
And I stayed still. So I say all that because it's like, you're 100% right. You have to watch these girls, and you almost know it doesn't matter what you say. They're going to have to know. They're going to have to learn it. Not on their own, but it's like there's a different level of understanding when you've been on their side, where it's so foggy and you just want to justify and go, no, he didn't mean it. Like, I know a side of him that nobody else can see or know.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I just recently read the book, It Ends With Us. And it stirred up a lot. Ooh, yeah. But I think that's my story. Yeah. And so if you've seen that, if you've read it, that's my story. And I almost felt validated watching it, and seeing a girl be in a relationship with a guy and go back to him. And it's like, as I want to believe the best, and I want to hope he's different, and I want to believe it was an accident, and those things that keeps us going back, but then it just keeps getting worse. And that was my story. And it just kept getting worse. And watching that also felt, it also felt really validating, in the sense of it can happen in a relationship, that sexual abuse. And I think I was able to see parts of the guy that she was with that you're like, I can see why you liked him.
Totally.
Like, he seems like a nice guy. He's a charmer. And that was my story. He was a charmer. He was a nice guy. Yep. He was super attractive, you know, had a lot of great qualities that of course I liked him.
Yep.
And then it just kept going and it just kept going. And then can't see up from down.
Yep. That's exactly it. Whatever you're comfortable sharing, how did you finally get out? Or what was it, without sharing details, I guess, to give it away and to continue to honor the person in the past? How did you get to a point? How did you arrive at a point that made you aware, like, it's time for me to leave? Was there anything specific?
This is the part that's crazy. And I think it just makes me realize that there's a reason that everything happens and God's hand is truly in it all. Even if it sounds like it's awful and even if I was abused, like he was there. And I think that's a crazy thing to think about, but how he may have used it for his good and his glory, because it was people telling me, people saying, hey, I don't think this is it. I think you should be better. You know, parents trying to tell us we shouldn't be together, all this stuff. And we just were. And it took a situation that I got so angry about. And I was like, what is happening here? And got cheated on. And I knew the girl. And I ended up talking to her and asking her questions, and something just, again, I think it was the power of the Holy Spirit, but I just looked at her and I was not even mad. And I just said, did he abuse you too? And she just broke down crying.
Oh gosh.
I said, do you want to come to church with me on Sunday? I'm not kidding, but she did.
Yeah.
And it was just the Lord's timing of that, because I look back and I wish it wasn't as long as it was, or I wish I didn't have to do it that long or be in it that long. But there was a reason it was the time it was. So good, there was a reason it was the season of life it was. Yeah. There was a reason for all those things. And if it was to have this conversation with this girl, if it was to make me the woman I am and to have the career that I have, has all come out of so much of that season of my life.
Oh, that's so good. It's so good. Do you think at the time you knew it was a chapter you didn't want to be in?
No, not at all. I mean, not in the early days. I was in love and it was fun and I thought it was the best thing and thought I was going to marry him. And that is, I think that can happen oftentimes in abusive relationships, is it starts out so charming and everything just seems so great and fun. And that's how it was. Yeah. I think it has taken years for me to process all that I went through, and trauma does have a very crazy way of keeping score, and how the body keeps the score of what you've been through. And I've seen it even come up because I've done lots of counseling and therapy and talking with friends, and how sometimes it still will come out in ways that we don't expect. And that's been interesting to see, because I remember it was a while later and I would go on a date, a next first date, and I'd be excited, but then I would just start profusely sweating. Wow. And I'm like, why am I sweating? You know, this guy seems like a great guy, and my body's telling me like it's unsafe. Wow. Sarah. And I had to retrain my brain to say, not all men are going to treat me the way he did. Yeah. Not all men are unsafe. And it would happen in crazy situations. I remember going on a date and I never wanted a guy to pick me up because I didn't feel safe in a car alone. And so I remember meeting a guy, and I was driving somewhere and I pulled over at a gas station before meeting up with this guy, because my armpits were sweating so bad. Yeah, and I went in, I remember going to the gas station and dabbing my armpits and being like, what is happening to my body physically? Like, from what I know about this guy, he's a good guy, but my body is telling me something. And so again, it just was like, that happened later. And then it's just like, and then I watch this movie, I read this book, and more comes up and more emotion comes up. And that's part of our stories, I think, when you go through something like that. Yeah. Like, our stories shape us and make us who we are. And so it has been years and years of processing and learning more. Yeah. As it shaped me. And I did EMDR for a while. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I did that.
Oh, you did?
I did EMDR after college.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. What was it like for you?
It was so interesting, because for those who don't know, it's a kind of therapy where you have your brain, your hippocampus, stimulated side to side. And so it can be through hearing, like a sound from the left to the right, or it can be a finger moving in front of your face and your eyes follow it, vibrations of touch, any kind of thing that would get your brain stimulating from side to side. And I hope I'm saying this right. I'm not certified in EMDR, but this was my understanding.
No, I've been through it and you're explaining it great.
Okay. And so as I was going through the process, your hippocampus stores all this information, and it's kind of like your survival mechanism that God gave us. It's beautiful how he created our bodies. So your hippocampus is storing all this information and survival things that happen. And then it's just stored in there and it kind of just fights for you. And so as you're going on, you're just living in the survival mode, you're fighting, you're just going through life. And when you do that stimulation of side to side, it's taking time to slow down and to open up your brain. And so it opens up those memories. And when I did that, it opened up these memories of things that I was like, I don't remember that, or I forgot it was that bad. Or I think the first question she had asked me as we were doing this EMDR was, what was the first time you remember him pushing you physically? And we're doing this, and this memory came up that felt casual. I was like, well, I remember being at the park, and I started slowly sharing more. And he pushed me, and he got mad when I wouldn't do something. And I'm slowly sharing parts of this that I was like, I want that to go back in. I don't want to remember this. Like it's crazy how it came up.
Yeah.
And I remember sharing with her, and this was the most powerful part of it, and a huge part that just shaped me into who I am and helped me gain confidence to go forward, was I told her I felt like my story just covered me. And I felt like people looked at me like, this girl is the girl who has been with this guy and gone through this and had this happen to her. And that's so sad. And I felt like as I'm sharing these stories through EMDR, learning more about what really happened, being able to put words to it, language to it, she gave me this beautiful visual of that story, everything that I just shared and the deep details of it are all a story that I get to put in a jar, and I get to hold that jar and I get to carry that jar around as my story. It doesn't cover me. So it's not all over my body. People don't look at me and see that, but I take that story. It's not on my body. It's not who I am. Put it in this jar, and I get to hold it and carry the jar around. And that is powerful, because right now I'm choosing to open the jar and I'm sharing part of my story with you. But when I want, I can take it and put it all back in my jar. And put it under my bed and lock it up until the next time. Or one day when I'm with a man and he asks to know more about my story, I can't wait to take it and open it up and get to share him.
That's so good, sir.
The details.
That's so good.
But it gives you that confidence of, I can hold this because it's not who I am.
Yeah.
It doesn't cover me. It does not define me. It's part of my past. It's part of what makes me so passionate about what I do in my coaching business.
Yes.
Because I carry this story with me of what happened to me.
Yes.
When I was younger.
I love what you just said about how you can't wait to pull the jar out and share it with a man that you feel safe enough to share that story with. Because I feel like probably so many women feel like no man is ever going to want me because I tolerated this, or, oh my gosh, Sarah, are they going to think that I'm crazy, that I had gone through this, and are they going to shame me for any of this stuff? And it's like, no, this is something that you feel so empowered by now because it has shaped who you are. And you are a voice of reason and strength for these women that can go, hey, visualize this jar and be excited to share this with somebody, because it's a part of who you are and what you went through and what made you who you are today. Totally.
And it's like, okay, the chapter I would skip, maybe I would skip sharing it in an initial conversation, but I wouldn't skip it because it did make me who I am. And I look at this girl that's in high school and who is going through this, and I can truly look at her and have this internal response of, oh my gosh, I'm so angry because I've been there and I know, and I get what she's going through. And I don't know that I would be the person I am, or the life coach that I am, or have this desire to do what I do if I hadn't gone through something like that, because I can see now from the other side, the lies we believe. I can understand that because I was there, and having somebody there to help you see those things, help you understand that. And it's a chapter I would want to skip in the sense of not relive it. But not skip because of what the Lord has done through it. And even if there's a story that feels like dirty or feels icky or feels you want to skip it, he is still good.
He's still so good. And I think it's so powerful to hear your story in so many ways, but also to show and be an advocate for women to say, hey, you're not just going to heal from it. You're not just going to make it through, but it's also going to be a part of your story that you're going to be honored and speak of in a way where you're going to say, hey, I would walk through all of this all over again. Because essentially, if we take that part of your story away, I think it would affect everything else that comes after it. And all the ways that you're going to be a better mom because of it, a better wife because of it. You're already a better friend and daughter and sister. So I hope that whoever's listening can really understand, because I know people, myself included, who have been in really difficult situations. You just think, I just want to go back to the way that I was before this happened. But no, I promise you, like, you're not going to want to go back to who you were before. You're going to be so grateful that you are who you are now because you walked through it.
Yeah.
And God doesn't just redeem, but he restores. And
yes. I actually journaled this at one point, and I wrote it down and fixed a few words to make it a better alliteration. And then I use it with my clients. It's really funny. So
I love it.
Just hear me out on this.
I love it.
It says, you are most powerfully positioned to preach to the person you previously played. Like, okay, sorry, it's cheesy.
How am I? No, that is the most profound thing. I need you to write that down for me after we're done recording. That is so, I'm going to say that in my classes, girl. That is so.
Is that not true? It's the 6 P's.
Powerful.
You are most powerfully positioned to preach to the person you previously played.
Holy. And I'm not going to say a bad word. I'm like, I'm fired up.
But so it's good. True. Like, I now have a powerful position to preach to the person I previously played. Like,
wow, Sarah, I'm sweating. My feet are tingly right now because that was so good.
Well, it's the story of redemption.
So
it's brilliant. What God uses it for good. So speaking of, with that, I know you carry a heavy story too. And what will you share that? What is your chapter, the chapter that you wanted to skip?
The chapter that I wanted to skip is the night that I wanted to end my life.
Okay. Kind of same thing of wanting to honor your past. And I know that you want to share.
Yeah,
too,
I do. Yeah.
Because that is so vulnerable for you to say on this microphone.
Yeah, I'm sweating because not a lot of people know that. Not a lot of people know that. And I think I'll go into this more, but I didn't even really realize, because I was in such a dark place. Like, I kind of just skipped over that. Like, it was just another Tuesday, you know?
Okay. So what is the backstory to that of when you got there, what that looked like? And thank you for sharing.
Yeah, of course. Well, I want this to be, I prayed a lot about what I would share because my impulsive answer is that, like, it was such a dark chapter. And it's not even that night that I thought about it, and I reached out immediately, like, to my friends, and I called my mom. And it was the lowest I can remember I've ever been in my entire life. But what led me there was falling in love with a narcissist. And the abuse that I went through, physical, verbal, emotional. And I completely just about lost myself and everything that I was in that relationship. And I kind of what we said earlier about, I felt like I was in this deep ocean and I did not know which way to look up and down. And I go, how did I get here?
Yeah.
Like, how did I find myself here? How am I this lost and sad? But also, like, I didn't even know what was wrong because I didn't know I was in a narcissistic abusive relationship until I got out.
Okay, so I know that narcissism is thrown out a lot. And I know I briefly said that word in my past, and you are saying that now. Can you tell me more about that for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think our culture just throws around that word so flippantly. I think they do that for a lot of...
If you're selfish, if you talk about yourself, you're a narcissist.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is not true.
Yeah, and
it's actually like a real thing.
It's a real thing. It's a personality disorder. Yes. There's actually a way, it's a maladaptive personality disorder. So basically, you know, narcissists don't obviously know that they're narcissists, but also it's something that, you know, just cannot be changed. Like, it's almost like I'm an introvert or an extrovert. You can have introverted tendencies or extroverted tendencies, but I'm never going to become an extrovert. I'm an introverted extrovert, but I'm never going to fully be an extrovert because that's just how I was wired. And so post breakup, I did a ton of research and had a ton of support. But basically, narcissism, and there's different types of narcissism, and I'm no expert, believe me, other than the fact that I walked through a relationship with one, but it is a personality disorder. So there's various traits, insecure. There's a huge lack of empathy. That would be probably the biggest one. Grandiosity, entitlement, inability to almost regulate your self-esteem, gaslighting, manipulative, rage, a lot of anger, lack of guilt kind of goes to the lack of empathy, need for admiration, entitlement, that kind of thing. So yeah, it can be thrown around, but I've done enough work with the right people to know that this was textbook.
So you're giving me the textbook answer now for the narcissist.
Yeah.
But what I heard you say is you didn't know at the time, right?
I didn't know.
You didn't know that he was a narcissist?
No, I didn't know. It wasn't until I got out and I started being really honest with my friends and my family, my mentors. And then I went back, and it was like, as I started to educate myself and come up out of, I don't know if it cloud, like it was just this out of the sea of not knowing, because I loved him. I deeply loved him. And so kind of what we said earlier about, 2% of the relationship could be really good. And I was like, there's no way I'd find myself in a relationship like this. Well, that's not what every woman thinks, right? Like you find yourself, you love them, they love bomb you, they get you kind of in.
Yeah.
And like you said about yours, ex, and like the person that you went through, what you went through with, mine was similar. Good looking, very charismatic, really great actor, really charming, manipulative, knew how to work a room. And I just thought the love bombing was consistency. I confused the two, but things moved way faster than they should have moved. And of course, hindsight's 2020, but looking back, people have asked me, someone asked me actually not too long ago, and she said, with everything that you went through, was there any good? And I said, well, of course there was good, because I would have left sooner.
Sure.
But even looking back now, knowing I don't necessarily trust, and I also don't care at this point, but I don't trust that any of it was even real.
Yeah, that's, I can understand that.
Like, what was really real was it him putting on an act and doing the things that he thought he should be doing because he knew how to play the part? Or was it him wanting to win me over? And then once he got me, the switch happened. And there was a switch. I remember exactly the day that everything changed, and it wasn't too far into the relationship, but I was already hooked at that point.
Okay, so tell me more about that, and what was that like?
It was like living in a nightmare with somebody you once thought hung the moon. And the switch happened. By the time it happened, I already loved him, and I was committed, and there were great things about him and great qualities that I believe that he had. But it was a nightmare. And there were moments that were so good, and the up and down and the roller coaster. I will say I started to feel so crazy, and I started to believe the things that were said about me because he knew my insecurities and my weaknesses and my family dynamic from my past. And so he knew how to use that and manipulate me. And then I started to question my own reality, and I started to question everything about myself. I was told I was too sensitive, and I was dramatic, and I was always heavy all the time. And, when you're told those things over and over again by somebody who also claims that they love you.
Did you start to believe it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I did. And over time, I started to isolate myself. It's what happens in narcissistic relationships is you isolate yourself, or they isolate you, and you don't even know that it's happening. I started to lose friends. I never fully lost my closest friends because they literally prayed day in and day out that this relationship would end, and they never left my side. But I was never aware of how bad it was. But it was like I wasn't aware, but I also knew deep down, but I just justified it. Like, no one's perfect. He loves Jesus.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
So what was it that led you to this point of what you felt when you say you wanted to end your life? What led you to that point?
I just felt like I was incapable of ever receiving love. I felt very alone. I felt very isolated. I felt like this part of me Like I felt like I was always going to be this way. And I was so lucky to be in a relationship with him. And he was the only thing that was ever going to love me. And I was so broken and wounded, which are things that he would tell me. So therefore, he was the only person that was ever going to love me, because he saw me for who I really was. And he loved me in spite of all these terrible things about me. And I actually wrote him, I'm going to read this, part of this. I wrote a letter to him that I will never send. But I've read it to my closest friends and my mom and my life coach and mentor. And there's a part, and it kind of just describes a lot of what I felt leading up to that night. But I said, I put you first, and in return, I was left empty. You can't take criticism. You want a yes girl, and I became her, and I lost me. You are cruel and brutal, made me afraid, questioned me constantly. You belittled me, criticized me. I was your trash bin and punching bag, all to constantly inflate your ego. I got your leftovers when it was good. I held on for dear life because surely you didn't mean it when it was horrific. You knew my deepest insecurities, wounds, and hardships, and you used and took those and used them against me. You knew just how to manipulate and gaslight. You tore me down piece by piece. Did you know the night after I helped you go through storage, move all day, unpack you, the day I knocked your phone off the charger accidentally and you freaked out, blamed me, and then charged at me, only to pull me back in by saying, I'm not going anywhere. Look at me. I love you. You're worth changing and being a better man for. Yeah, that day. The day you told me the guys knew what I had said at the girls' dinner, only to manipulate and scare me. How quickly you went from us picking out furniture in your storage unit for us when we are married, to losing it over a phone, to yelling at my reaction to your rudeness, to then pulling me in, then only to manipulate me and lie. That night, I went home in the bathtub and I contemplated suicide, thinking I am so messed up, so incapable of love. You made me feel not only crazy, but worthless. Just weeks later, you were cussing in my face, shutting me out, and breaking up with me over the phone, all in the span of 10 days, only to pull me back in again, saying God can change hearts with the right counsel and people. Of course, I tried with you because I loved you, but it was never about us or me. It was always about you. And then I go on to just saying, like, you knew all the right words. And this letter is like something that,
oh, I'm sobbing.
oh yeah. It's like what you said, where you're like, this is another life. Like, this is another life. This is another girl. Like, and I can't even believe I'm reading these words knowing like who's going to listen and who's going to know who I'm talking about. But I also don't care, because this, in a way, like, he is still God's son. Yes. And like, I did love him. You know, there are good parts of that man, but there's a brokenness in him that just was so destructive in my life that when I came out of it, I needed to talk about it because I didn't know it was so real. And I think that's when you go through abuse like that, whether it's a friendship or a romantic relationship, it's usually in a romantic relationship in this way of like trying to heal, because you're just trying to heal from a normal breakup, let alone like realizing like, oh my gosh, no, this was actually so abusive. But I had to talk about it out loud because I didn't realize, because I was so just programmed to think that I was being dramatic. But I didn't even know that he was physically abusive, because he never hit me, like struck me, but he would use his dominance and shake my shoulders and grab me in the car when he was angry. And it's like, that's not, he's using okay. He's a man. He shouldn't touch me when he's angry. Okay. And I felt like I could never talk about it. And I didn't really, I didn't talk about it to anybody other than my close people.
And I think that is something of narcissists, right? Is they shut you down and say, no, you're just thinking this. It's not true. Yeah. Or that's not what happened. And so of course you shut down and you're like, well, why do I talk to somebody? Because he's telling me that this one thing and I love him and I trust him. So I believe that. And then I think it's amazing, this letter that you have here in front of us. I mean, what is it? 5-10 pages?
Yeah, it's so long.
But it's like, for you wrote that after y'all broke up, right?
Yeah.
And for you to write out these things as you're processing it and being able to say,
help me heal.
This is what happened. And to read that out loud to anyone can hear that and be like, wow.
Because you get out of a relationship like that and you're like, you have to constantly, you need to talk about it. And what's crazy is the way that the Lord has placed people in my life right after it ended that were there for me that had gone through something similar. And then now I'm able to be there for people that have gone through something. And the more that I start talking about it, or I guess I don't necessarily talk about it as much anymore by any means, but just knowing what that was like, the more you hear about stories of women and men too. I'm not saying there's no female narcissists, but the ones that I've encountered, and it's very common. And that's what's really sad to me, you know, and for people to know that my darkest day was a night that I thought, oh, maybe it's just easier if I'm not here, was because I was so isolated.
That is really heavy. And again, like, thank you for sharing, because I know that that's going to touch people. And, you know, I just pray for the girl that's listening to this that says that happened to me too, or I felt that way too. And you were brave enough to share.
Thank you.
Your darkest days. And I'm really, really proud of you for what you've been through and your ability to, what you've processed. And, you know, I want to hear more about your healing, but what would you say, what would this version of Kenzie say to that version of Kenzie that was in the relationship?
I would hold her and just tell her, I know it hurts, and I know it feels so heavy, and I know the weight of everything, and it's confusing, and you just don't know which way is up from down, but none of those things that are said to you are true. And I would tell her, because this was something I was afraid of in it, was I'm never going to heal from this, because I also couldn't imagine losing him either, because I really loved him. And but I would say, you're going to be better on the other side because of this. There's going to be restoration. You will be stronger, braver, wiser, more patient. And it will be the chapter that you walk through that you'll want to skip, but you'll never want to erase, because it will make you who you are now. And it is so true. It's how I feel.
How have you healed from the hurt of that relationship?
The first thing was honestly like acceptance, I think, of just going, okay, it's over. No contact. Ladies, if you're listening, I think no contact is great no matter what, just to give yourself some time to have a clear head as your heart aches, because when our heart aches, we want to just go back to what we know. So no contact was a really powerful, and is a very powerful tool. But just accepting and educating myself on narcissism, it was like a slow burn of me kind of figuring this out. I had friends that knew him and friends outside that observed, family that all were speaking into this. And so as I educated myself, it really did help my healing of making myself not feel like I am crazy. It made me feel very, like you said earlier, validated. When you watch that movie, I read a book called Should I Stay or Should I Go? Surviving a Relationship with a Narcissist. Dr. Romani is incredible. I had already left the relationship, but the book just really highlights so much, and it really helped me. So if you are at all just wondering, you know, could this be narcissism or whatever, just know like resources are there for you. But then from there, it was just diving into my community, and I wrote this letter, and I was advised to write this letter, and I didn't want to go there. It took me a while. And then I wrote this letter, and I was brave enough to share it with people that I trusted, to let them know exactly what this experience was like. Because it's hard when you are in it, but nobody else is experiencing it, but they're hearing things. They know it's bad, but they don't know like how bad it is. Because I used to be the girl that's like, I don't understand how women get in bad relationships, or men too. I just don't understand. Like, why would you ever stay? Like, he's mean to you, leave. He yells at you, leave. Right. He hits you, leave.
Right. It feels obvious.
Obvious.
Yeah.
But when you are in it, it's a completely different experience. Because you know a side of them that no one else gets to see, and you justify that. And again, there are good things. This is God's child. So there are good things. I would just say, educating yourself, and then pouring yourself and getting honest. And then I read this letter and used my voice again. And even as I'm saying this, I mean, it's wild how I'm going back, like the enemies in my head being like, it really wasn't that bad, Kenzie, you're being dramatic. But I'm like, no, I'm not. But using your voice. And then where I really saw the change in my healing was 2 days. I remember specifically, the first day was when I heard the Lord be like, it's time to forgive him. I hadn't fully forgiven him when I wrote this letter. It's pretty intense. And at the end, I actually say, I pray for him at the end of this letter. And then I just say, I don't forgive you yet, but I will slowly and then all at once. And that's kind of how I described falling in love with him. It was slowly and then it was all at once, and kind of tying that in the forgiveness piece of knowing like I'm not forgiving him because he's asked for it. Mm-hmm. That's something too with narcissists. I think
they probably won't ask for
I know
it.
They won't, and they actually will think you'll be the problem, which I don't care, but I know that I am the problem, and I've even been heard. I've been told that that's what he thinks, and that's fine. I've moved on with my life, and I've put this in the rear view in the sense that he can't hurt me anymore or control me anymore or try to claim something over my life anymore. But what I also want to say is that I take full ownership and accountability now. I forgive myself for staying and not knowing what I know now, but I also take ownership of the fact that I stayed. So he didn't have me handcuffed to this relationship. Right. I stayed. I tolerated it. Why did I tolerate it? So then that's been my deep work, and it's been beautiful, and it's been really hard, but that's something that I will say coming up and out of this kind of talk of narcissism and like how that's kind of changed me fully from my darkest, heaviest days to now going, hey, I take ownership. I stayed in that. I chose that. I see why I was attracted to things about him, and they were great things. And then now I know what to look for. And also I know the broken parts of me that tolerated.
Yeah. It's such a weird line to walk as you heal from something like that, of holding space for both of those things of, okay, I see that I stayed in it. Yes. And giving yourself grace for when we're in those relationships, we can't see. It's hard to see, and not shaming yourself for that and seeing how God did use it. Because I could look back and say the same thing about my story about why did I stay so long? Like, same as you said, I wasn't handcuffed, but why did I? And is that the girl I am? But I'm like, no, I am not a weak girl. I am strong. I am confident. I am direct. And it's made me even more direct with men these days. Now I can straight up say, these are my boundaries. This is what I want. This is this, because I am that strong woman. I'm, and totally. Same with you.
Yeah. No, it's so real.
It's a chapter you wanted to skip, but also I can imagine it's the same thing. I said, you are most powerfully positioned to preach to the person you previously played. So how has this made you into who you are?
It's become one of the sweetest chapters. The post chapter of that chapter has been the sweetest chapter. And, I'm just walking this earth wanting to be more like Jesus. And I think through experiences like that, though they're really hard and heavy, that's exactly what it's done. I feel like it kind of cracked me open and rebuilt me and made me have an even deeper heart for people that are walking through heartache and abuse, and the chapter not going how they thought it would, and facing the fear and being able to stand up and not be a people pleaser and knowing when to walk away. And it's made me a really strong woman. Like, I look at myself and I'm at a place now where I'm like, oh my gosh, I am the woman that I have so much work to continue for the rest of my life. I'm far from perfect by any means, but I remember envisioning this version of myself years ago of being this like secure, unbothered, deeply loving Jesus, like just gentle, warm, encouraging woman. And I'm like sitting here today being like, I'm her. Like I got here and I have so far to go, but I thank that man for being such a critical part of my story, and I'm not angry or bitter. It does bring up like feelings in me, like the way that it brought up for you. But yeah, I think it's just cracked me open and made me more like Jesus in the ways I've always wanted to be. And going through a breakup like that, it allowed for me to also realize, what exactly I am looking for in my future marriage. And it's a big part of why my standards are as high as they are. Because, you learn a lot by what you want, by experiencing what you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I think that's true. And so this is a chapter that is hard for me to talk about in the sense of, oh my gosh, it feels like I'm talking about another person in another life at another time.
Right.
And that's what's so crazy. And that's what I tell women that are going through heartache. I'm like, just there is no time. God does not work in time. He doesn't work in, because I remember after this breakup, I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to take me forever to heal from this because I really loved him and I thought I was going to marry him and all these things. And I'm like, wait, this part of my story was real. It did happen. And look how far he's brought me. And so that's something that I really want to just say. And even hearing your story, it's like, I know your story, but hearing it again today and the women hearing it today, I'm just like, we're not filthy, broken girls. Like, you know, and we didn't ask for it. We didn't put ourselves in this situation. The Lord was with us this entire time and he knew. And that's what's so wild. And I think one of the things I used to wrestle with is like, he also loves the people who hurt us just as much as he loves us.
Yeah, totally.
And that can feel really hard to reconcile in your brain, but that's how good he is. And so I could ramble, but I feel like I'm rambling, but I will just say, yeah, it's a chapter that I look back on seeing that it went the exact opposite of how I thought it would and not seeing it. I didn't see it coming, but I wouldn't trade it for the world because I became this version of myself that I am just like, yeah, girl, look, we got here.
We got here.
And
it's going to continually be a process and always be a part of our story, whether it's something we share more. And I know that you have told the dirty, deep details to me and other people that were with you. And I have done the same thing with my story. Like, you know, a lot of my dirty details. And obviously we're not sharing all those just to honor and respect our past. But I hope that just whoever's listening to this can just hear it and know that, you know, we're not perfect. We have so much to go. There's so much part 2 to the story, part 3, part 4, and parts that have been written already since then. And that will continue to be written. And like what happened to me and even me sharing about, you know, starting to sweat or being fearful in relationships, how that has carried on through the years and the things I've continued to learn and the hurt that I went through, but then the ways I continue to heal. And I know that you in your cycling classes talk about things that just hit and will resonate with people that you are able to speak on because of what you went through. And I think that is the power of, even if these things have happened to us, even if we go through these things, even if we're in these hard situations, God is good and he does redeem and he does use the dirty. He does bring beauty from ashes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. And I'm actually, once we finish recording, headed to Bible study, and one of my girlfriends in my Bible study, similar to the brilliant thing you said that I'm going to write down before I leave you because it's so good. She said, Kenz, you can't speak on things you haven't walked through. And I think about our stories and I think about, you know, the whole motivation of this podcast is, hey, we're in our 30s and we didn't see ourselves being where we are. But even if God is still so good to us and even if our stories look like they do, you know, he is still so good. And I just want to share that I hope and pray that hearing about some sliver of what Sarah and I have gone through, that you can look at us and maybe relate to us a little bit deeper on another level and go, okay, like the way in which we walk and go through hard things in our life, because we are not promised an easy life, but we're promised a good one. And we are promised suffering. And like, we know there's going to be suffering, but it's how you suffer. And it's all about choosing who you want to suffer with. And I say this a lot in class, just how I really believe that exact thing. You cannot speak on things that you haven't walked through. And you may not be walking through the thing and experiencing the fruit of your story, but somebody else will. And that's not the purpose of the tree. I heard this recently. The purpose of the tree is to bear the fruit. The tree gets the water. The tree gets water from the gardener is Jesus. And the Lord. So we're getting that water. We're then growing fruit, sharing fruit. The fruit is for the other people. And what do we get? we don't get the fruit because we're the tree, but we get the wisdom. We get the water straight from God. And I think about our stories because there are days where I'm like, Lord, sometimes I'm just like, why me? Like, you're using me again, and I ask for you to do that. So I guess I know why, but it's this intimacy that I get with the Father by walking through hard things with him that then are going to make me more like him to then go impact other people.
Yeah.
And if that's the story of my life, single for all my days, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Because even if, he's still good.
He'll use it all. That's right. Even if there's a chapter in your life you wish you could have skipped, he is still good.